So, good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you today to speak on the theme, the Jamaican woman, more than a number. This is a topic that actually resonates quite deeply with me because it encapsulates what I want to discuss, which is recognizing the multifaceted contributions of Jamaican women and looking beyond the headline indicators to truly understand our lived experiences. So let's paint a picture first of where we stand. Now, Jamaica boasts a vibrant and diverse population, and women comprise roughly half of it. As of 2019, the population was 2.7 million, and women made up approximately 50.5% of Jamaica's population. Now, this means that there are approximately 102 women for every 100 men. And we know that a lot of Jamaican men like to say that there are two women for every one man. That is not true. There are 102 women for every 100 men. This diversity is reflected in our age distribution spanning several generations. As Jamaican women, we span generations from Gen Alpha and Gen Beta to the silent generation. Importantly, millennials and Gen Z currently each represent about a quarter of the population, together accounting for over 50% of Jamaican women. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, and we've heard a lot of stories about managing. Now, let's consider the evolving landscape of family life. I'm going to turn off my camera because I'm getting a message that my internet connection is spotty. So let's consider the evolving landscape of family life. Jamaican women, we are daughters, we're sisters, mothers, spouses. We are strong and independent, yet we are nurturing and caring. The 2021 Reproductive Health Survey revealed that most Jamaican women of prime reproductive age, that is aged 15 to 49, are in some form of a union, while 35% were either married or in a common law relationship. And also, we see where there was another 30% that was in some sort of a visiting relationship. Interestingly, though, we have seen a steady decline in our fertility rates since 1973, dropping from about 4.5 children per woman to currently about 1.9 child per woman as of the 2021 RHS. Ladies and gentlemen, this means that we're currently below the replacement rate of 2.1, which is the average number of children each woman should have if our population is to remain stable. This shift is influenced by several factors, including women are choosing to have children later, facing increased fertility and reproductive health challenges, and importantly, entering the workforce in much greater numbers. Now, this brings us to the crucial area of education, where we see truly encouraging trends when it comes on to Jamaican women. As of the April 2025 Labor Force Survey, we saw where women in the Jamaican labor force were much better educated than our male counterparts. Notably, 65% of persons in the labor force who had tertiary degrees are women. The sheer number of women with tertiary education, 169,700, significantly outnumbers the men at 91,700. This educational advancement, however, has been posited by some as a possible reason for our declining fertility rates as women pursue higher education and more fulfilling careers. But you can also see from the graph on the screen that at the higher levels of education, that there is a greater share of women than there are of men. Now, let's go beyond the headline numbers and talk about the realities of Jamaican women. Because there is a paradox. Despite our educational success, as women in Jamaica, we still face significant challenges in the labor market. The same April 2025 data revealed that there is actually a lower labor force participation rate of women when compared to our male counterparts. So 64.3% for women and 74.5% for men. We also experience a higher unemployment rate, 4.3% for women versus 2.5% for men. The question is why? Factors like childcare responsibilities and the disproportionate burden of unpaid care work play a major role. As women, we carry a tremendous mental load, juggling demanding careers while managing the countless needs of our families. We are bosses and amazing employees by day, while tending to so many who rely on us for everything. I'm certain that there are women on this call today who can relate to the words I'm saying. There are several social factors that impact our ability as women to effectively participate in the labor market. The April Labor Force Survey shows that the sex disparity in the employment to population ratio was most notably among older persons, the 55 and older age group, where 44.6% of women were employed relative to the population, compared to 67.6% of men. Another notable disparity in the employment to population ratio was seen in households with minor children, less than children 0 to 5 years old, with 65.4% of women who lived in a household that had a minor child being employed relative to the population of women, versus men at 74.0%. Approximately 3 out of every 5 persons 15 years and older who were outside the labor force were women. The majority of women outside the labor force, when asked what they were doing or how were they engaged, they reported that they were engaged in household responsibilities, 33.4% of women relative to 16.3% of men, or they were studying or in training. And then we had a relatively equitable proportion of women and men who were retired. Now, health is another critical area where we see disparities. The leading causes of death among Jamaican women include diabetes, myelitis, cerebrovascular diseases, hypertensive diseases, and ischemic heart diseases. In 2023 alone, diabetes claimed 1,544 women, and cerebrovascular diseases, that is strokes or other brain blood flow problems, claimed another 1,289 women. Hypertensive diseases like high blood pressure and related complications claimed 906 women, as well as coronary heart disease 688 and breast cancer 499. These are lives that are lost from some of these things, which are lifestyle diseases. Now let's talk about safety and security. In 2023, we did a national crime and victimization survey, and the survey revealed that 8% of women reported being victims of a crime, and a similar figure to men at 8.6%. However, when we started to go beyond that headline number, we saw that the feeling of insecurity was much more pronounced for women. There was 11.7% of women over 18 years who reported that they felt unsafe walking alone in their communities during the day. Now, at night, that number or that percentage raised to 36% of women who said they feel unsafe walking alone in their communities at night. This fear profoundly impacts how we operate in society as women alter their routines based on feelings of insecurity. We have about 41.2% of women saying that because of their feelings of unsafety, they stopped carrying around significant cash. We had another 31.8% who said that they started taking the longer routes home because they avoided back roads and shortcuts. And another 30.1% that said that they stopped letting their children go out alone because of fears of safety and security. Now, these statistics, they offer a glimpse, but they do not tell the full story. The reality for Jamaican women is complex and nuanced. We must delve deeper than the numbers to understand the lived experience of the Jamaican women. The statistics is only one part of the story. We see a persistent gap between educational attainment and labor market outcomes. We are also disproportionately affected by childcare needs and unpaid care work, things that often go unaccounted for in the discussions. Despite our resilience, we still see underrepresentation in leadership position in certain sectors. It is crucial to acknowledge these disparities, but it is also equally vital to celebrate the remarkable achievements of Jamaican women. We are the backbone of our families and communities. We are entrepreneurs, innovators, caregivers, and leaders in our own right. We contribute significantly to our economy, preserve our culture, nurture the young, and care for the elderly. We are so much more than just numbers. We are the heart and soul of this country we proudly call home. Now, before I close, I want to emphasize the crucial role of data and official statistics in understanding and addressing these very issues. These numbers I just quoted, these stories, they don't just appear out of thin air. They are the result of careful data collection and analyses. Statin, as Jamaica's National Statistics Office, works tirelessly to gather this information through surveys and other means. Your participation in these surveys is absolutely vital. Now, the more complete and accurate the data we have, the better we can understand the challenges facing Jamaican women, and the more effectively we can provide information to inform policies and programs that make a real difference. Your voice matters, your experiences matter, and your participation in our surveys ensures that those experiences are counted and reflected in the data that shapes our future as together as a nation we pursue developed country status for Jamaica. Thank you all for your time and attention, and I encourage you to follow us on our social media platforms.
Thank you so much, Leesha. Do you have time to take maybe a few questions from some of our attendees here?
Sure.
Okay, so any of our Rotarians or guests who are online, please feel free to ask our guest speaker today any questions you may have, either from her presentation or maybe just asking some of her thoughts on some of what was said in there. Anybody wants to be first?
I could ask a question,
Richard?
if
Sure.
I'm looking at too many screens, so forgive me if I seem to be looking up. There seems to be, and this is, let me speak from my own ignorance. There seems to be a persistent belief that Jamaica has, that women in Jamaica continue to have too many children. I mean, that has been a belief that has persisted, and in some quarters that still persists to this day. Do you have any thoughts on why there persists that? I mean, maybe it doesn't persist, but if any thoughts on how the average Jamaican views the population of Jamaica as a problem, or the depopulation of Jamaica as a problem? Do you have any views on that in particular?
So if I'm understanding you correct, your question is that there is a perception that women are having too many children or too few. Too many?
There too many. There's yeah, I still hear, boy, you know, you have a countrywoman, she have 10 pick me and blah 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 kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. The truth is that that is getting less and less, and the data shows it. We have a steady decline in the number of births per mother. And when we look at the data, because even coming straight out of the Ministry of Health from the bedside registration and the RGD and the various data collection points that we capture on births, we're seeing where there has been over the years a steady decline in the number of children being born to mothers. I do understand though that there are instances where you will have, for example, one woman having several children. So for example, if we look at the most recent birth data that we published that looked at the number of previous live births of a mother, while the total is declining generally across the board, you will see, for example, the majority of people who had a child in 2022 had no previous births, followed by that was 11,773, followed by 9,295 who had one previous birth. But once you start going beyond that number, the number declines rapidly, because when we get to the point of persons who gave birth in 2022 who had 5 or more previous births, that's just 895. So what we're seeing is that over time, persons having multiple births is declining at a much faster rate than the overall birth rate.
That's very interesting. So it is a rapid fall off of that kind of situation.
It is.
Question, Rotarian Corrine from East Nassau, Bahamas. My Rotaractors just had a presentation on fertility, where it was suggested that they are now making, what do you call it? They're saving their eggs to have their children at a later time. Is that happening in Jamaica?
So I do know that there are facilities that support that sort of approach to fertility in Jamaica, but it's not as pervasive as in other countries. Additionally, too, there's anecdotal evidence that persons are having more complications because, of course, women are delaying giving birth or having children. But it's quite an expensive endeavor, and therefore the amount of persons who are able to take that up would be much less than those who are able to conceive via natural means.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to follow up on Richard's question, because when it was announced, for example, by the family planning, what was it? They were called a family planning
board. The two is better than too many.
Right. The two is better than too many. And we seem to ascribe a lot of credit to the family planning board, because when this statistic came out that our population is decreasing, women are having fewer children, it was claimed as the success of the work. I just wanted to get, as a statistician and looking at the raw data, I mean, is this really because of the effectiveness of the family planning program, that, I mean, all of us grew up on, right? Or is it that the change in the norm for women, we're having children later, as you mentioned, we're more educated, just a number of factors that are occurring at the same time. I'm just fascinated by all of these emerging and intertwined in this national kind of result that we've seen.
Yeah. And well, I'll speak briefly, but I won't get too much in detail because of course we don't speak on policy, we just measure what's happening.
Right.
But it's a multiplicity of factors that would lead to the declining birth rate, as you rightfully said. It's not just the twist. When you're trying to achieve a particular development outcome, normally what happens in a country is that there are interconnected policies. So we would have been pursuing increasing women's education. We would have been pursuing other factors such as ensuring that women are better able to participate in the labor market. And some of the times, some of our decisions have certain outcomes. So, for example, in Vision 2030, one of our targets was that Jamaica should have a stable population, but we wanted to achieve that by 2030. The challenge we have is that we over excelled on the target of a stable population and we achieved it too early. So now I know our partners at the PIOJ and other government agencies are now trying to see how can that trend be reversed because we've over excelled. We wanted persons to have less kids, and now we're at a point where our population is about to decline, losing our demographic dividend. And therefore now we have to adjust and correct. But it's part of the planning cycle and it's part of our development process.
Okay, well, glad to hear that it's part of the cycle.
I mean, the truth is that there are a lot of countries globally with the same problem. I mean, if you think
Yes,
about,
that's
for example,
true.
Japan and Italy.
Yasmin, I have a question. My name is Violet Gall, and I am from the Virgin Islands, the British side, that is. And Yasmin, you and I spoke briefly when I came on, and I said we were going to be speaking about maternal health and maternal child health at my club. So I was more geared up for the maternal health and psychosocial support for these women in Jamaica. Are you, Leesha, are you touching on that, the psychosocial support?
No, not today.
Not today. Okay.
That's more of a policy matter, and I am here speaking in my official capacity as a statistician.
I realize that. I realize that. Thank you. Okay.
But Violet, just to mention that in Jamaica, we do have a robust, not only just family planning, but we do have a robust clinical system.
Yes.
That looks after directly, in particular, women and children across the country, in every parish. And it's something that I think the country, in spite of the challenges that we face, have managed to really keep those clinics going. And those clinics are staffed with, if not full-time, they do have access to the psychologists, the public psychologists, the psychiatrists, all the specialized care that is needed. Our women and children and men have access to that through the countrywide health system. I see where Rotarian Bernadette has her hand up. Bernadette, your turn.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you
afternoon.
so much for that really informative presentation. I was a little surprised at some of the information that was shared. I just wondered about two things. First thing is I always thought that it was more coronary diseases that or women were most at risk with. I was a little surprised that it's diabetes and what is the category that strokes and so on are in, and that those are now at like about third. That was surprising to me, and I just wondered if that was if my understanding was incorrect or if that's a current or new trend. That's the first thing. And then the other thing I wanted to ask was a little bit of the correlation between some of the data that you presented. I was wondering how many of our women, young women who have graduated, we spoke about it, the tertiary level, the level of education that they have attained, and you spoke about unemployment. I just wondered how many of our young women who have attained higher level degrees are unemployed. What portion of them do you think are unemployed?
All right, let me see if I can pull up that number for you quickly. I don't have it at my fingertip, but I'm gonna try to get it for you. But on the matter of the
Sure.
cause of death, what we have been seeing over the years is that lifestyle diseases are more impacting, are more significant in terms of claiming lives than the more hereditary diseases. And for quite some time, because when I looked at the 5-year trend, diabetes was the #1 cause of death among women. Yeah. And your second question was what proportion of persons with tertiary level education have...
Right. I was more concerned about the younger ones, but if you have
I just have
an
the
idea of
overall
the ones with tertiary level overall, yes, that's fine.
So I'm looking here and this is the point in time that I'm able to get my finger on at the moment was for Q1 2024, and we were looking at the educational breakdown of women who are unemployed. And of the 49,400, around 6,400 of them had tertiary level education. The majority was in the upper secondary category. Yeah, that's what we're seeing here. But remember that one of the things that we found when we were looking at why women weren't actively participating in the labor force, because what we found was that outside the labor force is where we saw a lot of women, is that women sometimes, because of our obligations for childcare, that we are, or for caregiving to other persons within the household, that women are more likely to be women who are educated who are not working are more likely to be out of the labor force than unemployed. Because remember that, and just to backtrack a little bit, you're considered unemployed if you're available and actively seeking a job, right? If you're not available and actively seeking a job, then you are considered to be outside of the labor force. I hope I didn't confuse it too much.
No, that's fine. Thank you
If I
so
lost it,
much.
just ask. Sure, no problem.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Do we have any other questions, comments that we'd like to make at this time? All right. Well, if we don't, Leesha, let me say thank you. This kind of information, although available, is not necessarily circulated, and so it is very incumbent on us, those of us who have this information, to help agencies like Statin, like our local government agencies in particular, to get the message out. And this being Maternal and Child Month in Rotary, one may ask, well, what does all of this to do? But they're indicators, and they're indicators, as you quite rightly pointed out. It gives you an idea, and a current idea, of where our mothers and children are in terms of their education, their livelihoods, etc., etc., etc. And it's not just about the physical health, but the woman's healthiness, if I can call it that, in order to look after her family and herself. So we want to thank you for that. Keep up the good work. We're very proud of Statin, that in the Caribbean we're among the top group of statisticians that keep our country's data not only clean but current.
Thank you.
And so we want to thank you and the entire team, and we want to thank your office also for facilitating today's meeting, and thank you for taking the time. I understand from Georgia that you were at a very important meeting, but you still found the time to be here with us. So thank you so much again, and let me not keep you any longer because I know you have to go. Thank you so much, Leesha, and all the very best.
Thank you.
And come and visit us from time to time.
I was just about to say, call me anytime if you want to talk about data.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.